Darth Vader, the complex and iconic Sith Lord, was a figure of immense power and cunning. His motives often operated on multiple levels, blending personal ambition, loyalty to the Sith, and a ceaseless struggle with his own inner demons. One of the more puzzling elements of his character involves his relationship with the Inquisitors, a group of dark side acolytes tasked with hunting down Jedi survivors after Order 66. While Vader trained and commanded them, there is ample evidence to suggest he harbored intentions for their failure. To understand why Vader might want the Inquisitors to fail, one must first consider the dynamics of the Sith philosophy. The Sith Code emphasizes the survival of the fittest and thrives on conflict. Power is achieved and maintained through struggle, with subordinates constantly vying for dominance over their superiors. For Vader, the Inquisitors were not true Sith, but rather tools to serve the Emperor's goals. Their very existence symbolized an extension of Palpatine's control over Vader's domain, something the Dark Lord would have undoubtedly resented. Palpatine created the Inquisitorius as an organization outside of Vader's exclusive authority, effectively imposing a group of would-be dark side contenders into his ranks. By desiring their failure, Vader subtly undermined the Emperor's designs while preserving his position. Vader was painfully aware of his tenuous relationship with Palpatine, who valued loyalty only to the extent that it served his own ends. Allowing the Inquisitors to succeed would mean they might gain too much influence or power, posing a threat to Vader's role as the Sith apprentice. For Vader, sabotaging their efforts ensured that they would never rise beyond tools in the Emperor's hand, never rivals to his supremacy. Vader's personal disdain for the Inquisitors further fueled his intentions. These former Jedi, who had betrayed their order to serve the Empire, represented a failure of conviction that Vader found contemptible. As someone who had fully embraced the dark side, sacrificing everything, including his identity as Anakin Skywalker, Vader likely viewed the Inquisitors as weak and undeserving of their positions. They lacked the discipline, power, and singular devotion that he believed were essential to wielding the dark side effectively. Their inability to rise above mediocrity only reinforced his belief that they were destined to fail. Encouraging this failure allowed Vader to maintain a sense of superiority while affirming his place as the Emperor's most trusted enforcer. The Sith philosophy also emphasizes the cultivation of apprentices through conflict, yet Vader's relationship with the Inquisitors was markedly different from the traditional master-apprentice dynamic. While he trained them in combat and dark side techniques, he had no desire for them to challenge him, as a true Sith apprentice might. Instead, Vader subjected them to brutal training and near-impossible missions, pushing them to their limits not to elevate them, but to expose their inadequacies. By keeping them in a constant state of struggle and ensuring that their failures outweighed their successes, Vader secured his dominance over them while proving to the Emperor that they were unreliable tools at best. There is also a psychological dimension to Vader's treatment of the Inquisitors. His fall to the dark side was marked by betrayal, first by the Jedi, who he felt had abandoned him, and later by himself, as he betrayed his own values in service of the Emperor. Seeing these former Jedi fall so easily into Palpatine's service may have served as a bitter reminder of his own downfall. Their failures mirrored his inner conflict, creating a cycle of contempt and loathing. By orchestrating their failure, Vader projected his own frustrations and self-hatred onto them, finding a dark solace in their inadequacies. Another layer to Vader's motives lies in the nature of the Inquisitor's mission: hunting Jedi. While Vader was devoted to eliminating the remnants of the Order, his connection to his past as Anakin Skywalker complicated this task. Every Jedi they hunted, captured, or killed represented a fragment of the life he had left behind, a life filled with both pain and nostalgia. Allowing the Inquisitors to fail at hunting the Jedi may have been a subconscious act of rebellion against his new identity as Darth Vader. In this way, their failures served as a twisted form of penance for his betrayal of the Jedi, a way to preserve what little remained of his former life. Additionally, Vader's tactical mind would have recognized the value of keeping the Jedi threat alive, albeit in a controlled manner. Allowing the Inquisitors to fail meant that the Jedi survivors would remain a persistent, albeit manageable, problem. This provided Vader with opportunities to face and destroy the Jedi personally, which he may have seen as both a test of his power and a chance to further sever his ties to Anakin Skywalker. By keeping the Jedi threat alive, Vader ensured that his role as the Emperor's enforcer remained indispensable. From the Emperor's perspective, the Inquisitors' continued efforts, successful or not, were a means to consolidate power and eradicate dissent. However, Vader may have seen their failure as a necessary counterbalance to Palpatine's overreach. The Inquisitors were tools of the Emperor's will, not true Sith, and their success would only strengthen Palpatine's grasp on power. By letting them fail, Vader subtly weakened the Emperor's plans without openly defying him, a calculated move to ensure his own survival in the treacherous world of Sith politics. Moreover, Vader's relationship with the Inquisitors was marked by a clear power dynamic that he maintained through fear and dominance. Their failures reinforced this dynamic, keeping them subservient and dependent on his leadership. Vader's command over the Inquisitors was not about mentorship or guidance. It was about control. He exploited their weaknesses to remind them and the Emperor of his own superiority. For Vader, their inability to achieve significant victories highlighted his indispensable role in the Empire's hierarchy. The failure of the Inquisitors also served to isolate Vader from the other agents of the Empire, further consolidating his position. The more they faltered, the more the Emperor relied on Vader to achieve his goals, reinforcing his value as a singular force of power and efficiency. In a sense, Vader allowed their failure to elevate his own status, ensuring that no one else could claim the mantle of the Emperor's most trusted servant. This isolation, while a double-edged sword, also protected Vader from internal threats, as the Inquisitors were too preoccupied with their own survival to challenge his authority. The overarching theme in Vader's motives is control over the Inquisitors, the Emperor's plans, and his own conflicted identity. Their failure was not just a result of incompetence. It was a reflection of Vader's deliberate and calculated efforts to shape their destiny. By keeping them weak, dependent, and ultimately disposable, Vader ensured that his position remained unassailable, even as he grappled with the weight of his own choices and the demands of the Sith philosophy. Their failure was never accidental or incidental. It was a testament to Vader's mastery of manipulation, his disdain for weakness, and his unwavering commitment to the principles of power and control that defined his existence as a Sith Lord. Through their failures, Vader found a dark and twisted form of success, ensuring his legacy as the ultimate enforcer of the Emperor's will. Vader's deliberate orchestration of the Inquisitor's failures can also be seen as part of his larger strategy to distance himself from any vulnerabilities. The Emperor's choice to use the Inquisitors was, in part, a way to test Vader's loyalty and to keep him from growing too comfortable in his position. Palpatine, ever the manipulator, understood that power could breed complacency, and he may have hoped the Inquisitors would serve as a reminder to Vader that he was not irreplaceable. However, Vader, ever shrewd and calculating, turned this dynamic on its head by ensuring that the Inquisitors were never capable enough to pose a legitimate threat to his role. In this light, their failure was not just a result of Vader's disdain but a tactical maneuver. The Inquisitors were designed as a safeguard against Jedi resurgence and as a tool to spread fear among potential rebels. Vader understood that their success could reduce his unique importance to the Empire. By allowing them to fail, he created a power vacuum that only he could fill. This dynamic ensured that the Emperor relied on him more heavily, strengthening Vader's position in the Sith hierarchy. The failure of the Inquisitors also served to maintain the mystique and terror surrounding Vader himself. If the Inquisitors had been more effective, they might have overshadowed his role as the Emperor's enforcer. Their lack of success, coupled with Vader's ruthless efficiency, made him stand out as the true force of fear within the Empire. Whenever the Inquisitors failed to capture or eliminate a Jedi, it often fell to Vader to step in and finish the job. These moments reinforced his reputation as a near-unstoppable hunter, adding to the mythos that surrounded him. Furthermore, Vader's treatment of the Inquisitors can be interpreted as a reflection of his internal struggle. As Anakin Skywalker, he once believed in the strength of cooperation and camaraderie, ideals that were systematically stripped away by his fall to the dark side. The Inquisitors, with their tenuous loyalty to the Empire and each other, were a grotesque mirror of the Jedi Order, broken and corrupted. Their failure symbolized the ultimate triumph of the dark side over the ideals Vader had once held dear. By fostering their inadequacy, he reinforced his rejection of the Jedi way, even as he wrestled with the remnants of his past. On a deeper level, Vader's actions towards the Inquisitors were emblematic of the cyclical nature of Sith betrayal. Just as Palpatine manipulated and undermined him to maintain control, Vader did the same to the Inquisitors. This dynamic ensured that the chain of succession within the Sith was always fraught with distrust and instability. By perpetuating this cycle, Vader upheld the Sith tradition of treachery while ensuring that the Inquisitors remained too fragmented and ineffectual to challenge him. The psychological toll of his own failures also played a role in his treatment of the Inquisitors. Despite his immense power, Vader was haunted by the loss of his loved ones, the destruction of the Jedi Order, and his transformation into a pawn of the Emperor. These failures defined his existence, and in many ways, he projected his own sense of inadequacy onto the Inquisitors. Their inability to succeed became a reflection of his own inner turmoil, a constant reminder of the cost of his choices. By ensuring their failure, Vader externalized his internal struggle, creating a scapegoat for his lingering pain and regret. On a practical level, Vader's actions served to eliminate potential threats before they could emerge. The Sith philosophy inherently breeds ambition, and while the Inquisitors were not true Sith, their proximity to power made them susceptible to the lure of greater authority. By suppressing their effectiveness and sowing discord among them, Vader preemptively neutralized any possibility of rebellion within their ranks. This ensured that his position remained unchallenged, even as he carried out the Emperor's orders. The failure of the Inquisitors also had the unintended consequence of fostering a sense of desperation and fear within their ranks. This atmosphere served Vader's purposes perfectly, as it kept the Inquisitors constantly on edge and reliant on him for guidance and protection. Their fear of failure and of Vader himself created a dynamic in which they were unable to function effectively without his intervention. This dependence further solidified his control over them, ensuring that they could never operate independently or rise above their station. The philosophical implications of Vader's actions are also worth considering. In his twisted worldview, failure was a necessary component of growth and power. Just as his own suffering had forged him into a fearsome Sith Lord, Vader may have believed that the Inquisitors' repeated failures would either break them entirely or force them to grow stronger. However, this belief was likely tempered by his disdain for their inherent weakness. Unlike Vader, who had been forged through immense personal sacrifice and loss, the Inquisitors lacked the same depth of conviction. Their failures confirmed his belief that they were unworthy of the dark side's true power. Finally, Vader's desire for the Inquisitors' failure must be understood in the context of his ultimate goals. While he was deeply loyal to the Emperor on the surface, Vader harbored ambitions of overthrowing Palpatine and ruling the galaxy himself. The Inquisitors, as agents of the Emperor's will, represented an obstacle to these ambitions. By undermining their effectiveness, Vader subtly weakened the Emperor's overall power structure, paving the way for his eventual rebellion. This long-term strategy highlights Vader's cunning and patience. Rather than openly defying the Emperor, he worked within the system to erode its foundations. The Inquisitor's failure was a calculated step in this process, a means of destabilizing the Empire from within while maintaining the appearance of loyalty. In this way, Vader played a dangerous game, balancing his immediate duties with his ultimate aspirations. In summary, Darth Vader's desire for the Inquisitors to fail was rooted in a complex interplay of personal ambition, philosophical conviction, and psychological turmoil. Their failure served his purposes on multiple levels, reinforcing his dominance, protecting his position, and satisfying his disdain for weakness. By allowing them to falter, Vader secured his legacy as the Emperor's most trusted enforcer while laying the groundwork for his own rise to power. Through their failures, he found a perverse form of victory, one that exemplified the ruthless and self-serving nature of the dark side.